Happy Thursday, Striver. I hope this message greets you with great health and energy, motivation, drive, readiness to finish this week strong. If so, you're in the right place here in Growth Day. If not, you're in the right place here in Growth Day. This is an opportunity here in the Daily Fire every single day to get a little bit of boost of an encouragement, maybe some new ideas or new frameworks for your own personal development, and most importantly, a kickoff point. My hope in Daily Fire is to kick off some ideas, some inspiration for you to go journal on, or go score your habits, or jump into some more education here that can continue helping you become your best. Today's topic in the Daily Fire is on the 4 predictors. I'm often asked as a high-performance coach, how do you predict if somebody is going to have a successful life? How do you predict if somebody's going to achieve those desires you're always talking about, whether or not they're going to have a life of aliveness and connection, meaning, and growth? How do you know, as a coach, where somebody really, quote unquote, is at in their life? Well, there's a lot of different ways to approach that, of course, and I'm sure you've had your own ways working with and instructing people. Some people do personality tests. Some people choose to evaluate people based on their mindset, their habits. Sometimes people evaluate others on the results they've already gotten as evidence. Sometimes you look at someone's education. Sometimes you look at their environment. Sometimes you look at their quality of communication. There's a lot of different things we could guess or evaluate about other people, isn't there? I mean, think about it. If you looked at your own children, if you happen to have kids, how do you predict success? Well, think about your own life. What areas of your life are you considering that might predict whether or not you're going to have a successful future? It's a tough question, right? As you can imagine, every single person listening to this will have a different idea or conceptualization, a different framework, a different way of guessing or estimating or predicting what someone's future success might be like. And it's difficult to determine these things. We know through the study of high performance studies that a person's deliberate habits really matter. If you've read High Performance Habits, or here in Growth Day, if you've gone through the High Performance Habit Builder course, which is free for you in the Learn section of this app, then you've got a pretty good idea of the habits that make the greater difference. But if someone was to ask me as a coach about some things I'm listening for or paying attention to as I'm talking to a client, let's say it's a first couple meetings, of course I've got a framework I'm going through, but some things I'm listening for are what I call the 4 predictors. These might not predict success, but they're going to help me determine where does this person want to go and what are their current odds or likelihood of actually going there and achieving those specific goals. The first thing I'm always listening to when I speak with other people is ambition. I'm always listening to their future vision of who they want to become. I'm always listening to their goals, the way they talk about their tomorrows, the way they talk about the things they want to create or contribute, lead, give, or serve with. I'm very attentive to how they speak about the future. Are they speaking about the future in optimistic types of ways or in pessimistic types of ways? Are they speaking about the future in a way that sounds like it's aligned to their real hopes and their dreams? Or are they speaking a cautionary tale? I'm always listening. Are they hungry? I mean, are they hungry for a more extraordinary life, a better future? Or does it sound like they're really just kind of going through the motions today? And of course, no singular moment in our life, no single snapshot is a good predictor. And that's why as a coach, I work with people over a long period of time. So I'm always attentive to how they're speaking about the future and whether or not I can tell they have some type of psychological necessity now to building that better future. Are they hungry for it? Do they really, really desire a better future? Then it's just diving deep into what types of goals they have personally and professionally, in their relationships and the mission and in their lives, and being attentive to how they describe those goals, Are they aware of those goals? Have they written those goals down? How they project plan for those goals? All of that, I just bucket under the concept of ambition. A second thing I'm listening for is esteem, as in self-esteem, the esteem one has for themselves. This might be under a broader bucket of identity, but I'll just call it esteem. I believe that people tend to take actions toward the esteem they have for themselves right now and in the future. It's a complicated and a little bit befuddled way of saying to you, I think that the way that people regard themselves, their worthiness, their deservedness, their like of themselves, their affirmation of themselves, their care of themselves, how they view themselves is important. You know, there's this old idea that people will only act within their comfort zones. And as a coach, I can tell you that's entirely not true. And that's just usually perpetuated by people who haven't really studied a lot of personal development. Comfort zones get way too much notoriety and attention in the public sphere of self-improvement, self-help, personal development, and psychology. People don't act within their comfort zones. People act within their esteem zones. See, a lot of people do things that are very uncomfortable, but they're doing things that are within their esteem zone, meaning within their perception of self, within how they view themselves, within their identity. They'll do things that are very uncomfortable. And people go, well, I don't understand. They're acting so far outside their comfort zone. Yeah, but they're acting within the vision they have of who they are. I'll do things that are very uncomfortable, way outside my comfort zones, but I'll do them because I say, you know what? The best of who I believe Brendon Burchard is, he'll take that on. He'll try that challenge. He'll step outside that comfort zone. And so people act within their esteem zones. How do they view themselves? Who do they think they are? What is their vision of who they are now and who they can be? What's their sense of worthiness? Those are types of things I'm listening to when someone's speaking. And a lot of people lack general self-esteem. They don't believe they're worthy, and they lack general confidence, which is more or less called self-efficacy in literature, which is the belief in their ability to figure things out and to achieve certain tasks or initiatives. It means I believe I'm worthy and I believe I'm capable. And all of that I would bucket within esteem, identity, how we view ourselves, how much we like ourselves. Third big area I'm listening for is competence. What are their knowledge, skills, abilities, talents, really? You know, a lot of people have big dreams, big ambitions. They even think pretty highly of themselves. But when it comes down to their competency, their actual ability to do things, their dedication to learning, their own curriculum that they're putting together to become their best, I can really tell how well their future is going to go. You know what I mean? A lot of people have goals. A lot of people are satisfied with themselves or have high self-esteem, but they're not doing the work to learn the critical skills that are necessary to reach the next level in life. This is why I'm always honoring you, striver, for being here on Growth Day, for constantly leveling up your mindset, to learning these new habits, to learning new perceptual frameworks for how to conceive of the world, for how to move forward, for how to think of your life and your own growth. By doing this work, you're developing your competency in life and for life success. But so few people actually do this work. They'd rather spend so much more time in entertainment than in education and empowerment. And that is a big tell to me. And I think that's more true now than ever. Listen, the world's in a lot of turmoil right now. There's a tremendous amount of division, uncertainty, chaos. It feels like every day on the news, there's something that's just a tidal wave of bad news. And so something I'd love to encourage you to do today after listening to this Daily Fire. What are the 5 critical skills or areas of learning that you must master to take your life or your business or your career to the next level. I've learned that high performers can always report back to me. These are the 5 things I'm working on in my life or my career. And they're already attentive to them. They're aware of them. They have a plan for them. They're working them. Where underperformers, if you say, hey, what are the critical skills you're trying to develop in your life right now? They can't think of anything past, the social media they want to scroll tomorrow. Right now, it's important that you really skill up. This is one powerful part about Growth Day, the encouragement to always go to the next level, to continue becoming your best, because a lot of society will placate you and will allow you to live in mediocrity. And here we hold a high standard for you because we want to see you live your best life. And you and I both know that requires work, personal, professional development. So good job being here today. So I shared a couple things with you. I'm listening for when people are in conversation with me as a coach, just to try to gauge where I think they are and where I think they might be able to go. I'm listening, obviously, to their ambitions. I'm listening to their esteem. I'm listening to their competence. And then the last thing I'm always listening to is a servant mindset, servant leadership, the idea of providing service to others. I coach a lot of CEOs, and CEOs often, it's so easy to tell the difference between them. One is talking about themselves, their career, their frustrations, and another is talking about their team, their culture, their mission, their purpose. How people speak about that is important. When people always talk about themselves and they're in the ego conversation, it's pretty easy to tell. Listen, you and I both know a lot of people can become successful. They can climb the ladder, but often their desire for achievement is really tied to a lower self-esteem. Those who want to serve, who want to be of service to others, they tend to have higher self-esteem, higher esteem for themselves, so much so that they are generous. They can look outside themselves. They don't have to, quote unquote, take care of themselves and have total security and safety and abundance just for themselves. They can see the bigger piece of the pie for others. Their ambitions aren't just for themselves. Their ambitions are for others, for making a difference, for generosity, for giving, for volunteering, for service, that mission mindset, if you will. I'm listening for that. Whether you call it servant mindset, mission mindset, servant leadership, there's just something there. There's a humility in the difference they want to make in the world. Even if it's a high ambition, they consider themselves lucky to be of service, that it's a blessing to show up and work for people each day. And listen for that, because that person over the long term has a whole lot better chances of not only achieving that, but building something around that, a culture or an organization over the long term. When someone's just talking about, making it or getting their next car or Lambo, I'm like, okay, that person might actually achieve it. They might get their Lamborghini. And guess what? Then they'll probably get another one. And maybe they'll have some more success. They might get another one. And yet they will always have an individual level of success and rarely build anything beyond the Lambos. They're not thinking about a broader difference that they can make. They're not thinking about that dent in the universe level of ambition, of contribution, of making a difference. So these are just some things I listened for. After you finish, if you go capture the 5 critical skills you develop and you want to do a little deeper dive into personal development, hop into your journal and capture the predictors you're listening to. When you listen to your neighbor, your friend, your client, your customers, someone talking about their future, what are you listening for to know whether or not they might have a chance at it or a good shot of success at it? For me, listening for ambition, esteem, competence, servant leadership, those things really make a difference. Of course, when I'm observing or I'm paid to coach, I'm following and tracking their high-performance habits at a more granular level. But these are big picture things that I like to listen to. I've enjoyed this episode of the Daily Fire here on Growth Day. We're holding a higher standard for personal and professional development. So good for you for showing up today. Every day is a great day to grow here in Growth Day. And I love that we did it today together. All right, if you love this Daily Fire today, quick reminder, Comment on it down below. What did you learn? What do you think? What do you have to share? This is about social learning in Growth Day. We learn from each other. We have that humility to learn from each other, but we also have that service leadership mindset where we want to share our life lessons with one another. So what have you learned about this topic? Put it in the comments down below and then get your growth streak.